All right, before we get into the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and comment on Apple and Spotify. Also, you can listen on inthetrenchespodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, In the Trenches with the Toulons, IG at The Trenches Podcast, and Twitter, The Trenches Podcast.
You are now jumping into the trenches with the Toulons, Touly and Ralph, where we pull back the curtain on what marriage and relationships are really about. So let's start the show.
Hey everyone, it's Ralph.
And this is Touly.
And we're back for a wonderful episode.
Or another episode?
No, a wonderful episode.
Okay. Sorry, don't be so aggressive.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
How was your week?
Not so good.
Why is that?
We lost a very close friend of ours.
We did.
Yeah. It's been a super tough week for me. But thanks to my wife, I didn't completely lose my shit. Pleasures of having somebody who holds you down. But this week we lost Dad Givens.
Mm-hmm.
He is a friend. He's also a fraternity brother. My prayers go out to his family, his parents, his sister, his line brothers, Spring 08, Musai, his chapter brothers. It was tough.
Yeah.
Super unexpected.
And it's funny because I did not meet him through you.
No, you did not. You met him through my line brother.
Yeah. Who I met through you. Well, who I met you through.
Right.
Yeah.
He is
the link.
He is the link. But he has always been, Thad was arguably one of the most genuine people I've met. From Jersey, so everything has son in it. Like, yo, son. What's up, son?
And then he also had family where I was from, so we had a connection there.
Yes.
Because every time he would see me, he would go, I know.
That Yeezy shit. Yeah, he was a good dude, man.
Yeah, always vibes. Like, I don't know if you could say anything bad.
Right.
Like, even, like, like me. Like, he's passionate like me, so, we pop off in a minute. But it's still, like, you still couldn't say anything bad.
Yeah, like, nah, the only thing, like, you could say bad is, like, sometimes he wore terrible outfits.
Okay, you know what?
With Tim's on. But besides that, man,
besides that, he's good.
He's a good dude, man. Like, he will be truly missed.
He definitely will be missed. But
yeah.
Not to get off of that. But through this process, this is another, I guess, instance where I had to say I didn't go to A&T.
Because everybody thought you did because you posted.
No, it's just because of the kind. So I'm talking to people who went there. I'm talking to people who went to school with him, like your girlfriends. I'm talking on the phone about this man that I didn't go to school with, but it's like we all went to school together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the kind of connection we had.
Yeah. But on to, I guess, our episode. I guess you'll see more about that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that I
definitely spoke
to that because, it's near dear, close to a lot of people. A lot of people we are close to. Shit.
Yeah.
We all in the same circle, man.
One big circle. One big Aggie circle.
Right. So just wanted to make sure I gave some love to him and his family. Definitely. And his line brothers.
Yes.
And everybody that's connected to him.
And what line is he?
He's Spring 08, Bloody Musa.
Spring who?
08.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the mad rapper was his line name. But yeah, enough of the somber.
Yeah. So we're going to go into our guests this episode. We have a coach that we interviewed, a modern coach. So he doesn't do just relationships, but it's just relationships in general, not romantic relationships.
Right.
So we have Matthew Solomon.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell the people a little bit about Matthew?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So Matt is known as the coach of the modern soul. Matt Solomon's vision for the modern era is one that is rooted from the understanding that everything is based on relationships, which is very true. Whether that be romantic, family, corporate, or otherwise. From this space, Matt stands with you in creating that life and that experience that you truly desire. And as a coach and an author, he's done over 30 TV and radio and web and podcasts, interviews. He's also facilitated healing and transformation for individuals, couples, families, and organizations. So,
before we get into the interview, we have to talk about money.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Yes. So, for the love of money.
Hey, Trench Mob, Sharita here with your weekly For the Love of Money tip. Today's tip, recession-proof your 2020 finances. We've been hearing more and more about a possible recession, especially in the mainstream media. With economists predicting a looming recession, now is the time, Trench Mob, that we have to be much more aware of our spending and to begin the necessary steps to recession-proof our money. Today, we will discuss a few tips that you can start right away. I know, Trench Mob, we've been consistently talking about budgeting, and that's because it's the foundation to your recession-proof plan. A budget, also known as a spending plan, is your arsenal just in case we do experience a recession. Think of your budget as a financial roadmap. It's going to tell you where you spend your money, identify how you spend it, and give you indicators if you need to make any adjustments. Think of your budget as a financial roadmap. It's going to tell you where you spend your money, identify how you spend it, and give you indicators if you need to make any adjustments. Isn't the power of a budget great? Your budget is your financial best friend. If you don't have a budget in place, now is time to get one. Your budget is your financial best friend. So if you don't have a budget, put one in place now. There are budgeting softwares like Cell Budgeting that helps you develop a healthy and sustainable relationship with your money. They're currently offering a free 14-day trial, and the links to sign up are in the show notes. Now that you have your budget in place, it's time to see how you can reduce your expenses. Reducing your expenses like cable television, the monthly gym membership, and your entertainment costs is a great way to put money back in your budget. With streaming platforms like Hulu or even Roku, and my favorite, the Fire Stick, you can still watch your TV favorites at a cheaper cost. YouTube has great options for workouts, and I even found some of my favorite workout videos at the Dollar Tree. Yes, Trench Mob, I said at the Dollar Tree. Paying down your debt is key, and this should be something that you make one of your main priorities because the less debt you have, the more peace and the more freedom you have. Increasing your income with a side hustle or utilizing a skill or talent people will pay you for is a great way to ensure that you're bringing in additional money outside of your normal paycheck. This will help if we do experience that recession that everybody's talking about, because this money is money that you could be contributing to your emergency fund. Your first goal is to save at least 1 month of your total expenses and keep building from there. Yes, I said 1 month of your total expenses. That's a good start. I know you can do it, and if you need help, I can show you how. Last but not least, keep having those money meetings. You want to ensure that you keep the conversation going and to ensure that everyone is clear why these meetings are so important to your financial future. We talked about how important communication is, especially financial communication, in previous episodes, so commit to continuing to schedule those money meetings. Questions on this week's tip? Feel free to reach out to me at Sharita MH on IG. Until next week, Trench Mob, as my son Kyle likes to say, pray about it, do the work, then get the money. Now here's the show.
Okay, so we're here with Matt Solomon, and we are about to jump into these trenches.
Yes. So, question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm sure you might get this a lot, and maybe you don't. Are you married?
I'm not. I was.
Oh, okay.
I was married for 9 years and then started my whole understanding relationships journey.
Oh, after?
Right.
Yeah, after. I mean, we were in various forms of therapy and counseling throughout our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really when we got divorced that I went deep into like the personal development work and the understanding relationships work and all of that. So that was the launching point where I was like, oh, now I see all the stuff I was doing wrong.
It's a revelation.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. So was it in the process of the divorce, or was it like, okay, divorce is final, I guess, I don't know. Well, I think men really don't go through a healing period, so I'm not going to say that, but like what was like the moment that you woke up and was like, oh, I need to do more digging.
Well, it's interesting because look, I've always been interested in personal development. Even when I was married, before I was married, I was reading, like I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus,
Mhm.
and Way of the Superior Man, and I was always like, how do I be a better partner, better husband, better boyfriend, all of that stuff. So I was always looking for that, but none of that really seemed to work. Like applying that stuff in the relationship I was in, it didn't work. And then when we decided to separate, I took a personal development seminar, and it was there that I realized that I was relating to my now ex-wife through filters. So like literally she would say things to me like, I need more help with the kids, I need help keeping the house clean.
Mhm.
And what I heard was, I'm lazy,
Oh.
I'm there's something wrong with me, I'm a bum, like all of that stuff, but that's not what she was saying. But I was defending myself, like I felt like I had to defend myself and be like, "Well, I'm working too, and I do a lot around here." And so, like, we just kept butting heads for 9 years, and when I took that seminar and realized, "Oh, this is a filter, and I'm actually not hearing what she's saying," and then I started to hear what she was saying, even though we were at the end of the marriage, I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I got 5 minutes to, help fold the kids' laundry, or to, clean the bathroom, or whatever it was." And then it became no big deal. And then it was like, "Oh, I want to do this because I hear that it's important to you, and so I'm going to show up and do this." And so like that was the revelation, and that was what really started uh like my deeper work, discovering like the meaning that I was giving to stuff, and why I felt I had to defend myself, and where all these stories and stuff were coming from. And with my ex-wife, at the end of the day, just we were just two very different people, and we grew out of like the dynamic that worked into a dynamic that doesn't work for us to be together, and
Mhm.
that's okay. But I got to carry that over into other relationships, and certainly when I work with couples, it's just as eye opening for them as it is for me, and then I get to coach them through that. And then uh, along the way, I've practiced tantra, and went deeper with sex and intimacy and how to build that. And I love that you're all like, was it in the trenches? Because
Yes.
there's a relationship therapist, Stan Tatkin, who talks about being in the foxhole together, and that your partnership is you and your partner in the foxhole, like, versus whoever's coming at you.
Mhm.
So, like, I love the in the trenches thing, because it works perfectly with that. And so that's, how I view relationship now. More of partnership. I view it as partnership, and when I coach couples, that's what we work towards, is forming the partnership.
So, well, thank you on that, because that's exactly where I was going with in the trenches.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
um, what is like a common thing? Because you being uh, a coach,
Mhm.
like what is like a very common thing that couples come to you about, like needing help with?
Well, I mean, it's almost always around communication.
Wow.
Whatever
Okay.
they're dealing with is the result of a breakdown in communication, not seeing each other's point of view. At the point couples come to me, they're usually dug in with, I'm not getting my needs met, so I'm not going to meet your needs. And, it becomes more of a tug of war, instead of turning towards each other, and seeing what we can create together for each other.
You have to help someone who's already married be partners.
Yes. Yes.
And why do you think people come into marriages or relationships and it doesn't work at the partnership piece? Where do you think the ball was dropped as far as the communication between the two?
It's interesting. I had a teacher years ago who told me, and I see it now. She was right, where we relate to labels, based on our past, and based on our experiences, and based on our environment. So, it's one thing to be dating, and then when you label it as, we're in a committed relationship now, the dynamic changes, because like there's a whole context around what, boyfriend, girlfriend, or what, committed relationship is. And then when you're engaged, there's another context around that. And then when we get married, then there's usually it we consciously or not, are go into marriage like our parents did, or whoever our primary caretakers were, or whatever we saw was marriage. And so things kind of change because we have a context around it, how we think it's supposed to be, or subconsciously how we experienced it. And so it starts off, there's all the hormones and the endorphins and like all the
Mhm.
love stuff, and like everything's great. And then when that settles down and we have to actually connect and see what makes each other uh tick, what's important to you and what's important to me, and how do we navigate this. And then if we get through that and we get to marriage, then there's how do we balance finances, and then if there's kids, how do we manage that. And most of the time, because we're not taught how to do this, we get into power struggles. We get into, I do more than you, or you do more than me, or I'm the primary breadwinner, so you should take care of the house. But like, there's all these different dynamics that that are based on how we think things should be, or how they're supposed to be, versus like how we are, and how we can work together, and how we can I had this one couple who they weren't married, but they had been together for a long, long time, and they were in business together, and it was like an entertainment business. And so, all the stuff that brought them together initially, like her spontaneity and his structure, became annoying to each other. And then in their business, like, he was more artistic and she was more of like the marketing person, but he was trying to do the marketing and she was trying to do the
Lord, yeah.
creative stuff.
Mhm.
And so they were butting heads there, and I was like, why are you doing that? She's better at that. You're better at that. You should just stay in your lane and then support each other that way. And so they started doing that, and the business shifted, and then their relationship shifted. And so they got to really be with each other, from where they were at versus where they thought they were supposed to be, or where they thought their partner was supposed to be. But it takes being willing to just like step back and accept, like, be accepting of your partner, which again, we're just not taught how to do that. If you look at school, we're given like sex education, which is you're going to get pregnant or catch a disease.
Mhm.
And then like communication is all, join the debate team and win your point. And so
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it's like, okay, go out into the world, and get married and have relationships. And it's no wonder that the divorce rate is what it is, because we just don't know how to do that. We're not taught how to do that.
Right. Preparation does not exist,
Yes.
to be
Right.
exact, right? We
Yeah.
prepare for everything else in life except the one thing that uh arguably means
Yeah.
more to a person than a lot of other things. I believe that marriage um is powerful,
Yeah, I agree.
specifically when both of you are on the same page.
Hmm.
But nobody's prepared to even know what that means
Yeah.
Yeah.
when they go through
Yeah.
college or high school, college,
Hmm.
etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of gotta find it out the hard way.
Yeah, that's normally what
Uh,
happens. You find out the
Mhm.
hard way.
Yeah, and then you get like, 14, 15 years in, and then it's like, well, we've made it this far, so I guess
Mhm.
we'll just keep going, without really without creating anything. There's a couple that I know who, they committed. They were like, you know what, we're committed for 10 years, and at 10 years we're going to decide if we're committed again. And so they went 10 years, and then at 10 years they're like, yep, let's do another 10. And so, no matter what, that's their commitment, and it's a matter of integrity for them, that they are, they're like, it's that's the commitment. And
I
I
like it.
respect that,
I
because
don't know
it's
if I can
like,
do it,
all
but
right,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was it was funny because I asked somebody what somebody asked me or stated that what if marriage had an expiration date? Like it was like a registration for your car.
Oh,
Right.
like would you renew?
And every year you have to renew it.
Uh-huh.
Let me
Yeah,
ask you a
like
question.
that.
Do you think that would be beneficial to a relationship and or marriage or detrimental?
I think it would.
I
It
know.
depends. It depends. My instinct is to say I think it would be good, because then it would kind of cause you to evaluate things and to like really look at things, in terms of, okay, what are we committed to for the year? And then when we get there, okay, do we want to do this again or not? And and maybe it's not, maybe it's 3 years, or maybe it's five, or maybe it is a year. I don't know. But I think one of the things that I do with couples is I have them set up weekly meetings. So, Sunday night, we're going to sit, we're going to, discuss the relationships, our relationship, we're going to discuss our finances, we're going to check in with each other and see, how do you feel? How do I feel? Are you getting your needs met? What can I do to support you? What's your plan for the week? And, because there's a we get caught up in the romance of it. We get caught up in the chemistry of it. But there's, marriage is a business. There's an element of it that we miss because of like Disney movies and all of that.
Right.
Where and that's where the partnership comes in. So if I'm with somebody, it's like, yeah, let's check in. Let's make sure that we're both happy and that we're both feeling fulfilled. And if you're not, I'm committed that you are happy. So let me know what I can do. Let's find a way to have you do that. So yeah, I mean, I think structure, any kind of structure, any kind of checking in is great, is essential, for a working partnership for sure.
I have a question for both of y'all.
For both of us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the first. So I was just thinking while you were talking, about the Disney and having this conversation, like checking in with your partner.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, as most people know, as on my side of things, as we grow up, it's just like, you find a husband, you have kids, you do this and the third. But again, y'all are not told this story. So it's kind of like already my mindset coming into this is like, okay, I know when I get married, I have the Disney fairy tale of, everything's going to be perfect. It's going to be, butterflies, birds that sting to me at 5:00 in the morning to wake me up. But then it's like, what do y'all think? Because it's like, it's kind of like that's our running goal in the back of our head, to make it perfect like Disney. But y'all don't have that same movie reel.
Well, I'll speak for myself first before I let Matt go, because he's probably going to have something.
I know, right? He's going to shut it down.
Right, he's going to shut the whole block down. But I'll go first. So for me, I'm a movie guy.
Right.
So I definitely had a similar vision of what women saw as marriage. But
for yourself.
Well, not as marriage. I saw the Disney movie.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'm going to meet the perfect woman who's going to hold me down, hold the house down, hold the kids down, etc. I mean, she might work,
just
she
the
might not.
opposite of that.
Right. I did have the picket fence mindset and all of that. But the problem is I didn't know what was required of me to get it.
Because they don't show that part.
Right. Because in my mind, I saw the same Disney movie that women see.
Yeah.
And so, to be honest, I kind of had the same idea.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
So let's let the relationship coach.
Well, to that, and to take it a step further, there, for me, there's the, like, I have to be the hero. I have to save you.
Yeah.
I have to sacrifice. I have to, like, get hurt and win your love. And then if I screw up, I got to screw up so that I can win you back. And, what's there's that movie, the guy, he's like standing outside the window with the boombox,
Yeah.
Like, that was all the stuff that I grew up on. It's like, I gotta win her back. And yeah.
So it's like you have to come into this mindset like you have to be the hero. I didn't even think about it like that. Like I have to come in, I have to save her.
Yep. And when I was little, when I was like 7 or 8, I remember, playing in my grandmother's living room. And there was a TV show called SWAT, so I used to watch SWAT, and I would pretend that I was like, the guys. And whenever I would rescue a woman, as I was, when I was playing at 7 years old, I would always get shot, because it was more heroic to take a bullet while rescuing her than to just like flat out rescue her.
Interesting. That is crazy. I never looked at it like that.
But saying that, I just realized the pressure. That's y'all pressure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to be the knight in shining armor. You have to come together where she's going to be like, oh my God, my prince,
Yeah.
But your prince is bringing baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than saddlebags. Okay. So, that is, when you were saying that, I was just like, what? They just come into this like just regular, but you don't.
No.
Y'all are jacked up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know we went and we said, what made you want to become a relationship coach and all of that. What do you want to get out of being a relationship? What do you get out of it? Like, what is the satisfaction in being a relationship coach for you?
It's seeing things work. There's a moment with the couples that I work with when I really have, when they turn towards each other, and then all the crap that's in the way that they've been struggling against, when that disappears, and then they just reconnect to that love, and like their tears are flowing, my tears are flowing, and then like love is present. That stuff is incredible. Like that's what inspires me, and then working with them to build that partnership and to have a structure for a relationship that works. And then when they're posting on Facebook 2-3 years later, pictures, like just seeing them happy and all of that. I mean, that stuff's great. That really moves me.
So, what about? I mean, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. What about couples that haven't been successful?
Yeah.
After you've provided, excuse me, after you've
Mhm.
provided all the proper tools for them to be successful.
Yeah, that's a great question. I get to see them move on, and I get to see them, some I've seen go into other relationships, some I've seen not, but they're walking away with a stronger sense of themselves. They're walking away with, tools to take into their next relationship and have that, work better. Uh, it's like, we're, I definitely look at life as a journey, and so we're here, we're learning lessons, we connect with people, we find out, like I've learned every relationship, uh, easy or not, like I've learned something about myself from all of them, and so it's just part of our growth and part of our journey.
So you speak on relationships, consent, partnership building, and intimacy.
Yeah.
Why do you have to speak on consent?
Why do I have to?
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, it's important. I mean, it's like I have. So what happened a couple years ago when the Me Too movement online happened? Um, uh, I wrote a book called "Man School: Relating with Women in the Me Too Era," and I wrote it because I saw mostly women sharing their stories, uh, on on my timeline on Facebook, and I wasn't surprised because I knew, but it was also really humbling to see all of those stories, like the magnitude of it. And then I saw a lot of men who were like, "Oh, that can't be right," or "You must have misunderstood," or and all of that. And so I started sharing with men what I've heard from women, and then women saw me doing that, and they're like, "Please write a book and please teach a course because you've been listening and you get it." And so out of that, I wrote the book. I write a weekly column for the Good Men Project, and as more and more of this stuff would come up, it was like, there were people who didn't know how to have consent conversations, thought that, oh, I need to get a signed contract. Or like I was teaching a course one time, and the guys were like, oh, we should, design an app where you can like get consent on. And I was like, no,
No.
that's not it. That's not like it's not about permission, because we're socialized, mostly as men, to think like sex is something we have to get, and so women have to like block it, or women are the gatekeepers, and so I look at consent as partnership. It's there's ways to be like, I would really love to kiss you right now, versus, can I kiss you? Is it okay if I kiss you? Or is it okay if we go upstairs? Like, no, I'd really like to take you upstairs. Like, there's ways to have the consent conversation that still keeps it sexy and intimate, and maintains our polarity, which is what attracts us, versus it being all about like getting permission to do something. So I speak on consent because, again, it's not a we're not taught how to do that. We're taught it's something we're supposed to get, and then we're also told, well, sometimes women play hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it becomes, oh, I have to keep pushing through your no to get you to say yes.
Right.
And so me pushing through your no, if you get to a yes, it may not be a legitimate yes. It may be, for a lot of people, like trauma comes up, and then you just kind of give in because it's easier, or because it's scary or something. And so, like, there's a whole lot of stuff that comes along with it that we're just not taught. I wanted to say, I always mention this. The Me Too movement was started by a woman named Tarana Burke back in 2006, and a lot of people don't know that. And so it's something that, when the online thing happened a couple years ago, I just always like to give credit where credit is due. Tarana Burke being a woman of color who created Me Too, mostly as a platform for women of color to share their stories and get support. with dealing with with their, what occurred for them.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hey, look, everybody's not as educated, but I do appreciate that. That's good to know going forward.
Now another thing that we just spoke about is the intimacy part of it.
Mhm.
You teach intimacy. Is it because people can't like differentiate between the two, or it's like I don't know how to be intimate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
We tend to think that sex is intimacy, but sex is a part of intimacy. It's an expression of intimacy, but it's not
The entirety.
intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so intimacy is like really being able to I love, like, to ask for help. Like, how do I pronounce that? Let me,
Yeah.
with it like that. I love that. It's being able to sit with your partner and just like, you know, look into each other's eyes and breathe and just be present. It's being uh, willing to share things that are painful or hurtful or things that you're excited about. And it goes along with communication. There's also the nonverbal communication part. It goes along with being able to like just you know sit and touch each other and not needing that to move into sex either. So there's so many different techniques to build intimacy, which is really connection, and connecting at a level where, um how do I want to say this? It's like it becomes like a spiritual practice, like a meditation, or when people say, like God comes into their relationship, or
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of different ways to describe it, but it makes it's a bigger, larger experience than what we think of as just like sex.
Right. Now, when you're doing this work with
Mhm.
people on intimacy and sex,
Yeah.
I don't want to say most of the time, but is it most often does trauma come up, or are we just kind of like smooth sailing with just trying to get through the intimacy part?
Um, I mean, it definitely comes up. I'm the more and more, I just see that like pretty much all of us are carrying around trauma of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always kind of there, and it's always something to be, recognized and dealt with, and to create a safe container for that. And and especially in a committed partnership, both partners get to be aware of it and make it safe for each other. And so, yeah, that stuff definitely it comes up pretty much pretty much all the time,
Oh
honestly.
wow. Is it hard for them to move past to get to, I guess, the
It
working on the
depends.
actual? Okay.
Yeah, it depends. It's kind of that part's all over the board. Sometimes it takes a lot. Sometimes it's easier. It really it depends on what it is, and how much, because like couples come to me and sometimes they've never done any kind of work with anybody over regarding
Oh
anything, and
yeah.
sometimes it's like, yeah, we've done this relationship course, and we went to this retreat in Bali, or or whatever. Um, so there's all different. It just depends, really.
And so, when you're dealing with like intimacy between couples, like what is your go-to tactic to kind of get them comfortable with the process?
I always start with having the couple turn towards each other and just sit and just breathe and be present. And that's the jumping off point. And that usually there's usually a huge shift that happens, within a couple minutes of doing that, and it's really beautiful. And then from there, we can introduce other techniques and other things that they can, be doing. Um, but that's the jumping off point.
Yeah, it wouldn't work for me.
No, why not?
It wouldn't work for her because she hates staring.
Oh, well, but think of it. That's great. That's so great. Because I used to be like that. I used to. Oh man, I would like laugh.
My
I would.
nerves would be so bad.
She would be
Yeah,
freaked
I
out.
would be freaked out.
yeah. So if you look at it as not staring, but just like in tantra they call it eye gazing.
Yeah. Oh
But the
no.
way yeah, the way
Mm-mm.
I learned it was just being with your partner. Like if you could just sit and breathe and be like, you don't have to stare in each other's eyes. You can just
Oh, okay.
just be present. Or maybe you start with your eyes closed, but you're sitting facing each other and just breathing.
See,
Or
I can do
maybe,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you could even like hold hands.
Yeah. So I can do all of that. It's just
Yeah,
the eye to eye contact. No.
yeah, yeah,
Looking into
yeah.
her
So
soul.
No.
yeah, so you could start there.
I don't like that. We would fail.
We would fail. Whatever.
We got an F. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Can I get my money back?
Oh,
I didn't sign up for this eye gazing.
Stop making me stare.
Right.
I wasn't told there was going to be staring.
I don't want to be disconnected to my husband.
so
Yeah, right.
So, question for you: do you do just couples type relationship coaching, or do you do seminars? Like,
Yeah, you know what's funny? I do couples seminars for sure. I just did one in June, a couples seminar. We had like, was it eight? I think eight couples.
Oh wow.
And then I work with organizations, schools, and corporations where I teach them how to communicate and connect and build community. And so we're not doing like obviously the sex and intimacy stuff,
Right.
but we're doing the communication and like connecting and learning. Like I teach learning listening technique that really has people feel heard and understood and valued in a way that they've never experienced before. And so I teach that too. I'm working with I was on the East Coast, like I said, in New York. I'm working at a college there 1 week out of every month. And so I'm working with students, faculty, and staff in forming community and building partnership. And so I on all different levels, from thousands of people at a school to couples to individuals to seminars.
wow. So, how did you get into building community? That is awesome, because a lot of people struggle. We talk about just people being awkward and just not understanding how to communicate in general. So, it sounds like
Yeah.
you're taking it to the next level by building community. So, how did you get into that?
It really all of this for me just opened up. Like it wasn't. I went to music school. Like I was a guitar player.
This was not in the cards.
26 years ago ish. And I was in the music business. I was in the film business. And I was always working on myself. And then within the last 7 years, coaching started to open up. I started leading workshops and seminars, and so it's all just something that organically came about.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, that's
Yeah.
big boy stuff.
Which one is more difficult? Teaching someone to be more intimate or effective listening? That's what it was?
Or communicating, effective communication,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
effective. Yeah.
So which one is the
communication,
more
listening.
difficult to teach?
Gosh, that
Mhm.
I don't know. I kind of look at them as
The
like
same?
the same. Uh,
Why?
yeah. I mean, the listening technique is pretty. The way I break it down is pretty easy. Like people grasp that pretty well. The intimacy part, is just a different approach. Yeah, I don't really consider either of them difficult,
Because then on the
honestly.
other side of this, it just seems like the listening would be more difficult. And I'm just thinking
Hmm.
because, like how you were saying before, with your ex-wife, she would
Uh-huh.
say something to you, but you would hear something different.
Yeah.
So it's like you have a layer there of trying to get past, I guess, triggers or what we
Hmm.
hear in our
Hmm.
heads. So it's like,
Yeah.
but you don't really know what the person tells themselves when someone is actually talking to them. So it's like, how
Yeah.
do you,
Right. Yeah.
how do you tell them that don't listen to that person? You listen to what the actual person is telling you. Like,
That's
that's why I
Yeah.
thought that would be hard.
yeah, you learn that in counseling, right? It's listening to hear and not respond. So I
But it's
think,
like what he's saying,
Yeah.
they're not even responding. They're already,
well, I'm just saying with him and his wife, it sounds like, or his
Uh-huh.
ex-wife, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
He was listening to respond rather than listening to hear what she's actually saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And then once I had the experience, see that what clicks is the experience. And so once I had the experience of hearing what she actually said,
Yeah.
then it was like, oh, like a whole world opened up. It's like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. The thing that I was doing before. And so then it becomes easier. And so, through listening, when we're listening for each other's experience versus, what do I think about what you're saying, or what am I trying to, uh, you know,
Decipher.
yeah, decipher or any of that. When I'm solely listening for what was your experience and why are you sharing this with me, there's like then you feel heard, and then when you're listening to me that way, then I feel heard, and it's like, oh, I'll do this. I'll do it this way because it works. Um, so once you have the experience of that and you know what it feels like, it becomes really easy to do. And so for me, for the most part, it's second nature. And I'm human, and there are times where like I still get triggered by stuff, but then I can catch it and step back and be like, all right, let me let me figure out why this is happening now.
Right.
You know, but it's so teaching it, learning it is not difficult, and then it's just a matter of exercising it like you would, if you go to the gym. You don't get washboard abs after one day of sit-ups. You got to like keep at it. And
Do you not? I mean,
Right.
I mean,
I
that's
can't just eat a
so I've been
burger.
told.
Right.
but I want what you just said about triggers.
Mhm.
So would you agree that it's mostly triggers that made you hear what you wanted to hear instead of what was being said?
Was it mostly triggers?
Like maybe some, I don't know, like how you grew up, things from the past, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm like, why would you not hear,
Mhm.
what the person was telling you?
Yeah. Well, it's I think filter is maybe more
Okay.
accurate. So it's the way my mom related to my dad, the way I felt that people related to me in my life. Where is my sense of self worth. Me not feeling like I brought much value. My ex-wife made more money than me, so then I socially I felt like, okay, I'm not worth as much, so I need to like really stand up for myself and defend what I am doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's all of that. It's like, listening through that filter that I have to prove myself, uh, because on some level I'd always felt like not good enough, or like there was something wrong with me, or less than.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like that's what was in the way for me.
So now that you've done, you have years of experience in dating and relationships and marriage and all of the above, do you find it easier to date now or harder?
Hmm. Dating is easy for me. I would say that, like, the dating part is easy. It's finding the person who we get each other on the same level, and that our level of commitment and our level of integrity. And I'm divorced and I have kids, and so meeting a woman that can roll with that, there it's I guess I have a lot higher standards now, so it's been more challenging to find the right person to be in relationship with. But the dating part for me it's funny because I didn't date hardly at all before I got married. And then and then after my divorce,
You
I
do.
was in like two relationships back to back, and then I was like, all right, I need to not be in a relationship for a while. And so I just dated. I was on like, all the apps. And honestly, I've always been a good listener, and so women were not used to being listened to. And so I mean, I've maybe had one or two bad dates out of a lot. Um, so, usually, like, even if we just met for coffee, we would at least have a good time and have a good conversation and all of that. So the dating part, yeah, I mean, that part has not been difficult, but finding the right person is challenging. Has been.
That's another thing. I just realized he doesn't lump them together, and I think a lot of people do.
When you
What's that?
dating and relationships?
Oh,
Relationship, I guess, matching. So he
mm,
doesn't. He doesn't. Matt doesn't. Oh, I just call him Matthew because I just got a little too comfortable.
it's all,
But you see how he was just like dating. Like dating is fun. You know what I'm saying? Like he's saying dating is fun, and I guess not going into it like, okay, is this going to be the match? Is this going to be the match?
mm,
But he's like, okay, not necessarily is this a match for me, but this still was a fun date. Where I
mhm.
think most people are like, everything is a wash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like
it's more about the connection. Well, it's about having a good time and just
Yeah, and then if it happens, then
right.
yeah, it.
yeah,
But he's like, okay, if the vibe is there, the vibe is there. If it's not, then it's not. But this still was a good date.
yeah,
Where I think some singles now, and I think I may have even done this. It's just like, oh, that was a waste of time because
right.
that wasn't him.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's a great observation, babe. Nobody understands the difference. They believe that they're the same thing.
Because my whole purpose of going on this date is to see if you are the one,
To see if you
instead of
are
just going to
compatible.
have a good time.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You're going with
Perceived notions that this may be.
you're going with expectations that, if you're not compatible with me, or if I'm not enjoying this day, you're automatically not the one. So you write them off. Right? There is no second chance. First impressions mean everything to people because they believe that's what drives, the next date, or how I want to be able to get to know you even more. And then at least that's my perspective. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah. And then if, I hear this more from women generally, but it's like, okay, I'm dating because I want to find the one.
Right.
And so, and then it's like, if I got to go on one more date, like I can't, versus just like being present and being in the moment and experiencing whoever the person is in front of you for, however, like an hour or hours or whatever. And then, okay, cool. But when we add that pressure of like, I'm doing this to get somebody or to find somebody or, so that I can, get married and have babies and all of that. Like, then it makes it a chore. And then you're like doing something to get somewhere. And whenever we're doing something to get somewhere, we burn out versus, when after that, the relationships and I was like, okay, I need to just date. I was dating to learn about myself. I was dating to discover like the different kinds of women that were out there and available. And so it was more for me just about the experience of, meeting people and connecting with people and learning about myself and all of that versus, okay, I need to get into another relationship again, find my wife or whatever.
Yeah. So how do you learn about yourself through dating?
That's a great question. For me, it's knowing what my boundaries are, knowing what's important to me, knowing what's the best way to say this. So, in the relationships before that, I would have, deal breakers, but then it would be like, oh, I can let that slide because, she's like this, or I can, maybe this thing isn't as important to me. And so, I was coming from kind of a limited point of view. And so when I was dating more to discover, what works for me and what doesn't, it was really that. It's like, okay, how do I feel with this person? And what are the things that I like and what are the things that I don't like? And so you learn where your edges are, you learn where your boundaries are, uh, and what the deal breakers are and what, and what's not a deal breaker.
So how do you get to the point of like, or do you like get to the point of where, okay, I have my list? Because I'm thinking like, okay, I go on this date and I can see how you broke it down. I can see how, okay, I go on a date and with each person, you will have a different experience. So, with John, we went on a date and he did these. Okay, so I know I don't like that. So then I don't want to date someone or end up in a relationship with someone who smokes cigarettes,
Yeah.
Or, I don't like how he gets when he gets mad and the tone. So I already know that's going to be a deal breaker for me because that just makes me feel like this may lead to an abusive relationship. But then when do you stop making that list?
Yes, it sounds like it's an iterative list.
Like I can go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, there's always the list, and then it's a matter of like what are the most important things on that list, and then that makes it easy. If I'm with somebody who's like, I hate kids, can't be around kids, then it's like, all right,
Oh, well.
that's I mean, oh my god, there was a date, and I don't know where you are politically or not, but I'm very liberal on the left. So I went on a date with this woman who like we connected on Bumble.
Okay.
And we texted and then she was out of town and then she came back and then, we met for drinks and we're sitting there and this was, I wasn't coaching yet. I was, working on a film and we started talking about the movie business and it came up that so I wrote a script called Black and Blue which was about racism and the police and it took place on a college campus and all of that. And so I was telling her about this and she's like, oh, you mean like Black Lives Matter? I'm like yeah. And she's like, oh well, I'm a libertarian and I'm not really, I don't really believe in that. And so I was like, it was like the record scratched and like I was like, well,
What?
oh, we didn't talk about the politics thing didn't come up in our text message.
Let me add that one to the list.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I need to make sure I clear that next time. And so it was like 45 minutes. I finished my drink, she finished hers. And I was like, thank you very much. And we,
And
went our
bye.
separate ways.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, the list.
Yeah, definitely add that one to the list.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I might
But-
laugh.
That's it. I mean, that's why you keep it iterative. It has to be ever evolving if you're dating, right? When
Yeah.
you're married, it's a little different, right? You know what your
Mhm.
non-negotiables are.
Yeah.
But when you're dating, like you said, you learn so much about yourself, and then you realize that you have way more non-negotiables than you really thought from the first place. Right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just
Yeah.
really thought that was funny.
It is hilarious, but it's super accurate, and
Mhm.
why it needs to be ever evolving.
Well, I just
Yeah,
wanna-
and things change,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to change. But there's other things.
All lives matter.
Okay, so I do want to take this moment to tell you you are right. That I do laugh when it's inappropriate.
Yeah, you laugh at the most inappropriate. Anything that's inappropriate,
Because
she's
when I
laughing.
tell you, I would have laughed in her face.
Oh, I know you would have.
Oh.
You probably would have fought.
No, because then she would be like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'm just because you are dumb.
Yeah.
That made no sense. That made no sense.
To her, it made a bunch of
Well,
sense.
yeah. So then that would have been
Oh my
rude.
God, the conversation that that was
You were probably like, "I do not want to have this conversation right,
Right.
now."
Check. I can't drink this
Yeah.
drink fast enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if men do this. No, y'all do. So never mind. So why do you think, as a coach, why do you think people value themselves with people who they feel is not a fit, but they devalue themselves with people who they want?
They'll be here preaching tonight.
Wait, say that again.
So why do you think people value themselves with people who they think that is not a fit, but they devalue themselves with people who they want? So like you may be going on a date or whatever with someone, you're just meeting up and you don't feel like they may be your type, even though you're having a good time or whatever. But it's just like, I'm on the top of your list, you're not on the top of my list. You get what I'm saying? But then when you feel like someone is like, your total package, this is really what you want, but then they treat you like shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all your values, your list just goes out the window because you want this person so bad. So why do you think people do that? So somebody who you think is not on your level, you're just like, oh, well, I'm too much for you. All of a sudden, you have so much value in yourself. You have to, stick hold to your non-negotiables. But then with somebody who you think is like the bee's knees, then you're just like, oh, well, do I really hate that they smoke? Like what?
That's interesting. That's a great question.
I mean, it comes down to a lot of different things, but it's oh man, that's a really good question. Why do we do that? We do that because we tend to not be nice to ourselves.
Yeah.
Your worst critic.
Yeah. And so like everything's good until we're afraid of losing something or someone. And so if we're putting somebody on a higher plane than us, then automatically it's like, oh, I got to keep you. So I got a
deal.
I got to sacrifice something. I got to give up something. I got to give into something so I don't lose you because you're so great. But then
I guess when you think you're better, then it's just like, no, you do, I guess what
it's the pedestal effect.
Yeah.
I put you on this pedestal, you're everything, and whatever you say goes. And I need to get on board, or I'm afraid of losing you, to his point.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of losing something, we tend to sacrifice what we value. When if they can't love me for what I value, then they definitely should not be in my house or in my life in general.
Yeah.
And that's not even, that could be a friendship. Not even a relationship.
I mean, because we do that with friends too. I was just wondering, as a coach, I wonder if if you get people like that, like they're just so caught up and they're just trying to figure out like, well, why don't they want me? Why do they keep treating me like this? But then when you have somebody who wants to treat you like you really want to be treated and respects you, but then you're like, oh, well, they're just not my type.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like there's a lot of times, women will be like, I want an emotionally available man. And then emotionally available man shows up and they're like,
Yeah, I don't want
oh,
him.
yeah, I don't, yeah,
Right.
he's too sensitive, you know? Um, yeah, it's that. I think a lot of it comes from, you had mentioned trauma. A lot of it comes from our upbringing, comes from abandonment issues, and
Mm.
like there's attachment strategies. Where some of us have avoidant. Like we avoid relationships. Some of us are anxious about relationships, or we attach too much, and so like all of that comes into play. And so as a coach, I work with my client to see those patterns and to really do the work to discover why they're doing that and why they're putting themselves in that position, and why when the person who like really is there to show up and take care of them, like why are you pulling away versus the one who's treating them like crap. It's like, okay, why are you letting yourself uh be treated that way? And so, as a coach, like I support my clients in working through that, and then also with the, okay, if you need to call me, you know, at 11 o'clock at night because you're wanting to pick up the phone and call that person that's bad for you, then I'll hold you accountable to
Oh
that,
yeah,
and I got your back.
need that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
You need that friend. Like, girl, don't you call him.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
That's you.
Give me your phone. Give me your phone. Give me your
Right.
phone
Turn it
now. Yeah.
off.
I've done that. I was like, okay, so give me your phone. They're like, what? Because I'm going to block him. I'm going to block him. I'm going to delete the number because I know you don't know it by heart. And I'm
Right.
just going to remove him. Okay, so what advice, as the coach, would you give to a single person that wants to be married?
What advice? I mean, it really comes down to knowing yourself. Like, do the things that you enjoy doing. Know what those things are. Know what feels good to you. Know, like, do you like to go to the beach? Do you like to hike? Do you like to, do yoga? Do you like to dance? And whatever that is, do those things to fulfill yourself to capacity. Because really, you want to be full, so you're meeting another person that's full, and then you get to like grow and expand together versus I'll only be happy when I find so and so. So with anybody, dating or not, it's really about how do you be the most fulfilled version of yourself, and then everything else really falls into place behind that.
I just want to say amen.
Right. Man, if I hear one more person look, we've had like 6 interviews, and that is like the key thing is being whole when you get into a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work on yourself. Work on yourself. And I'm so glad that everyone keeps saying the same thing, because I just feel like in this era, in this time, everyone is just so consumed with what everyone else is doing or who they need to mimic, but like we've lost self.
Yeah.
Like people don't even really know who their real person is, because we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, putting up this persona, and then it's just like when it comes down to what do you really want, what do you really like, you don't even know.
Yeah, we live through the surface rather than who we actually are. Like we just want you to see what we want you to see, not who we really are as an individual.
Yeah.
But then when you get into these relationships, and then the relationships is about digging deep, digging that trench together.
You can keep it
and then
surface.
you're like, you want, but I don't even know me like that.
Right. Very true.
Wow. But yeah, this has been great. Man.
This was a great, we really appreciate you coming on into the trenches with us.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Providing your perspective. It sounds like, I mean, you're all the way in with your success around being a relationship coach, teaching communication. I think these are like really awesome things that you're doing for individuals, specifically young adults who struggle with communication and how to communicate effectively. Effective communication is big in everything you do in life.
Yeah.
And, so I commend you on that, and I wish you much success as you continue to grow in that space. And
thank you both. This has been really great. Thank you.
But I do want to say thank you for even like having your book and having the conversation about consent, because I heard on another podcast that I listened to, like really like guys don't actually know.
No.
Because like I said, it's just like I thought that I'm supposed to do it. And I do feel, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I do feel that we contribute to them not knowing because of like how Matthew said with, I'm telling him no when I really want to say yes.
Yeah.
And so that contributes. But then it's like, you can, but it's just like, it doesn't help with the crying wolf once the situation happens because, you know,
you set the precedent.
Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, you know, no means no, but then at the same time, your no was kind of like a yeah. So yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that someone, especially a man, is having the conversation about it. You have the book, but yeah. So thank you again, and babe.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Peace.
See you tomorrow.